I would like to ask the AG to propose legislation for what we call small claims court. There are lots of poor people, to an example you just gave, that they have issues with others and sometimes with large firms, but the lawyer fee is greater than the fee you're claiming.
It is their right.
Yes.
Any situation which you seem to do, you're just dealing with Afro-Guyanese issues. If one, you can't bring and pull the leaders of the African community together, you're failing. And if two, you can't put forward a future, a blueprint, and a plan for African Guyanese, you're failing as well.
Hi there. Very pleasant Friday evening to you. Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon show. As you can see from your screen, who's our guest, and that person, like about 7 or 8 others, are our valuable guests because they've been here for the past 3 years and they have made this program possible. They have never turned us down. 6, 7, 8 times we've called upon them. They have been here, and we appreciate the analyses, assessments, interpretations that they've given to the viewers of this program the past 3 years. It is obvious to those who have stuck with us the past 3 years that some names have to be here based on the election results. And those persons are important in terms of interpreting social phenomena for our viewers and for the Guyanese people at large. So our guest this evening, as you can see sitting next to me, is financial analyst and a very competent financial analyst, Joel Bhagwandin. Let me say this, as a non-technical person, as a person who's not a financial expert or an economist, I've learned a lot about the counter-arguments to the anti-oil critics from Joel Bhagwandin. And I'm suggesting to you, if you don't like the government, you have a right to choose a political party of your choice. But do not lock out what people who support the government have to say in terms of their scholarship, because you can learn from it. I have learned from the fictions that the anti-oil, anti-Exxon people have promulgated the past 5 years. So just let me show you what is my column today. My daily column in the Chronicle for today, this is it. It's entitled, "We Must Not Allow Even One African Mind to Be Fooled." I will now read a section of that column, and Joel Bhagwandin is contextualized in it. These people were relentless in the mainstream media and social media. Someone has to explain how not only did the PPP survive, but it had an impressive victory in the 2025 election. The PPP victory proves that the names above were ineffective. And do you know one of the reasons for that ineffectiveness was and is because people have spent 5 years confronting and countering the names listed above. And here is one of them sitting in our studio. Let me go on to read and contextualize Joel Bhagwandin. Think of it. Had it not been for the counter narratives, then those names above would have managed to fool people. Someone like Joel Bhagwandin has done a thorough job debunking the fictions of the anti-oil critic, especially Christopher Ram and the Oil and Gas Governance Network. Had there been no Bhagwandin or Leonard Craig, these are people out there that would believe, there are people out there that would believe that Exxon profits are in the trillions and Guyana gets nothing. So right here in our studio, we may not see it, we may not see the graphic connection. But people like Joel Bhagwandin have played a part in that election results because they've shown people where those who talk about eggs and mercy, let me crucify us, and Guyana get the pittance. People that came up, sat down, and replied to that fiction. Joel, after that long preamble, thanks for being here once again, and I have to say, I am extremely grateful to people like you who have never said no to us. So let's start with my theory here, that people like you played a part in opening the eyes of Guyanese people. How do you feel about that?
Well, thank you, Freddie, for having me here. Good evening, viewers. How do I feel about my contribution in public discourse?
Opening people's eyes about the gas, the oil industry. I've seen you done good work, and I've seen you expose the misunderstanding of the oil industry by Christopher Ram and all of them.
But I have no particular feeling about it. I do what is needed.
Right.
I do what is necessary, and it's part of what I do. It defines who I am. It defines my profession, and there is. I've always said this, that there is a lack thereof. I would like to see more persons. Not only a Joel Bhagwandin, but I would like to see more persons doing the kind of work that I'm doing. We don't have enough people doing it.
That's graphically and poignantly expressed. It's just too few of us, man. Too few of us.
Too few of us. I would like this number to grow increasingly.
Okay. I don't think viewers could be looking at you for 1 hour and not say, what does he have to say about the election results? What do you have to say about the election? It's gone, but it's in the air, and it's not going to go away for just so because of the results.
The election result was expected in terms of what the PPPC has achieved, 36 seats. If you go back to my Facebook page, I had made a post before the election that, based on my assessment, and I revised that assessment leading up closer to the election, I said that based on my assessment of the numbers and what I'm seeing in terms of the campaign, etc., and other variables, that the PPP was going to win plus or minus 8%. Plus or minus about a few percentage point, 36 seats, and that's what they landed with. They landed with exactly 36 seats. In terms of the other dimension of the result, whereby we saw a political party that just came in, practically cannibalized the APNU AFC's base, that was not entirely surprising, because their intention was, when the APNU and AFC decided to work with the new party, the new kid on the block, they were working with the theory that he would have instead made some sort of an impact in splitting the PPP base, which backfired in a huge way. That did not happen. They were hoping for a minority government. That did not happen, and instead the result was that they were cannibalized. They were reduced from the main opposition party in the parliament to just about 12 seats, and now you have a new main opposition, leading opposition party in the configuration of our National Assembly. So the results, not surprising. It's consistent with the pre-election analysis that I've done, which is out there in the public.
Okay. Leonard Craig has just stepped into the studio. Just let me shift over and let's see what Leonard Craig has to say.
Hello.
To Joel back.
Hello.
First, that you have to have the support of all the ethnic groups one ethnic group can't carry an election, can't result in the winning of an election. And so that has positively proven, the result has positively validated the hard work that the PPP has put in as a political organization to become truly a national party that is representative of and reflective of Guyana. Increasingly, people of the other ethnic group, Afro-Guyanese and others, increasingly are supporting the party. And we have to recognize that on the part of the PPP, because for decades they were subject to the base being, subscribing to the false narrative that the PPP is a racist party and a whole bunch of stuff, and it's an East Indian party, and they have suffered that. But now, the population is also getting smarter. The population demographic is increasingly changing, not only in terms of ethnicity, but in terms of age, in terms of this is a new era, this is an information era. We're getting increasingly smarter, an increasingly more educated population where people are no longer interested in race and that type of stuff. They're interested in issues. They're interested in their own, impacting their own lives, improving their own well-being. And so we've seen the result, we can safely say that the result of the election speak to that evidently, which is a good thing for our country. We've come a far way as a country in terms of our political economy, knowing where we came from historically. We've come a far way in a positive direction.
Leonard?
I'd like to pivot a little to an issue that is in the public domain, and that is with respect to gold smuggling, and the name GHK Lall is plastered all over. And I was made to understand that you did some investigation with respect to his bona fides. One time he claimed to be a lawyer.
Let me just stop here and remind you. The views expressed on this program by our guest are those of the guest only and do not reflect the station's belief.
Freddie, let me ask my question first, no man.
And myself and Craig. Go on. I'm just protecting myself from GHK.
No. Joel is safe and he understands what we're dealing with. Right.
He knows what he's dealing with, GHK Lall.
So at one time he declared, or at least in a public record, that he's an attorney at law. Then he is a chartered accountant and several other titles.
Chartered financial analyst, CFA.
Right. Tell us something about your research and why we should not have faith in the claims that he has made about himself.
Just be careful.
So, well, let me give the background that led to that. It was two things. One, when the Marriott Hotel was put out there for sale, inviting expressions of interest, he had described himself as a Wall Street analyst, critiquing the valuation, the pricing that the government received through those bids. And I had also did some preliminary valuation work on that transaction. And so that was the first time he described himself as a Wall Street analyst. Then sometime later, he was writing a whole bunch of nonsense, as he always do in my view. And I took it upon myself to look into his track record during the period when he was the chairman of the Guyana Gold Board. And what I did was simple. I simply looked at the audit reports, the Auditor General reports for the Guyana Gold Board for the years under his tenure. And what I found was those audit reports found a series of violation of the Procurement Act. Procurement were carried out in violation of the procurement regulations and the procurement law. There were issues of financial mismanagement, which is this is not me saying, this is the Auditor General report saying.
And that's available, right?
That is
that's
available
to the nation, right?
To the nation. I just took the findings from the report and publish it with my comments on the findings, of course. But for this purpose of this discussion, I'm just stating in summary what were the findings of the report, the main summary. So there were mismanagement issues, financial mismanagement. They were
at the Gold Board.
At the Gold Board, under his chairmanship.
That's right.
A series of questionable financial transactions under his tenure as chairman. And thirdly, the Auditor General highlighted in its report that the issuance of gold operators licenses were also issued in contravention of the legislation governing that. So almost every area that defines the mandate of the Gold Board, there were violations. Procurement, financial, and the issuance of license. So that was when he then in his response to me stated that he's a CFA. He deflected by questioning me in his convoluted way, and then he said that he's a CFA. Now, I don't know if you know what is the CFA, Chartered Financial Analyst, and I took him on. Chartered Financial Analyst is the gold standard professional credential for investment analysis or financial analyst. I don't have that credential. As far as I'm aware, there is only one person in Guyana who holds that designation, which is the daughter of a former president. Donald, yes, correct.
Christopher isn't?
No. No. Only one person holds that designation as far as I'm aware. Now, like ACCA, CFA has a database which is publicly accessible. So you can easily verify whether someone hold the designation or held it. Now, in his defense, when I zoom into scrutinizing the veracity of his claim, he quickly said that he no longer hold the designation because he don't need it and he's not paying the subscription, so he can't use it. Now, that's fair enough. If you're not paying your subscription, then the rule is you can't use it. Yeah. But that doesn't erase your history.
Right.
Your history would still be there. And so I did two things. I checked the existing database. Nothing showed up. At least the status should show up. Then I was told by an actual CFA holder that there is an old database which is not public. So you'd have to get somebody who has access to that old database, and it should be there. I did came across someone who, that person helped me to put me into contact with someone who had access to the old database and asked them to check. Nothing showed up under his name. So that's the background. There is no verification that, at least publicly, and he's never confirmed. And I said now that he was the subject of intense scrutiny. I told the Guyanese critic who did a whole expose on him. Very nicely done. I said to the Guyanese critic that, listen, it's simple. Now that he's rightfully under intense public scrutiny for this whole gold smuggling fiasco, then all you have to do is put out your credentials. Just publish your old subscription payment, publish your old certificate. If you're no longer paying a subscription, you still ought to have your certificate, right? And then
to show that you once were. Yeah.
Correct. And then critic did some other background check. Apparently, he said he had a BBA and an MBA. No name, no mention of the university. Well, put it out. Put it out.
But isn't that the commonsensical thing to do in global debate national debate, international debate.
Yeah, he has
And
no-
I said you never been to university.
My
Name the
credentials
university
are
you've
no
been to.
secret. I have an active LinkedIn profile, and I have nearly 3,000 followers because I have a rich profile. I upload all my work there, so I have a rich following, and so all my credentials are there and everything, professional, academic, everything that I do. He has none. He does
When you
not
go to
have a
LinkedIn, it doesn't say.
profile.
3,000 followers. I think
That's a
Leonard Craig-
professional platform.
I think Leonard Craig must have had 300,000.
No. I hardly deal with my LinkedIn thing. I don't update it. I don't.
3,000
Maybe I
followers
have
on
to
LinkedIn is
because-
a lot, by the way.
Yeah,
Most
yeah.
persons got a couple.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Joel Bhagwandin.
There's nothing to celebrate. I'm just
It's not
using it.
celebrating.
Yeah.
No.
I'm
just-
extending my
It's just
congratulations.
I'm just using it in the context.
professional network.
I haven't even got one.
No, I'm just.
Yeah,
using it in the
understand, Joel.
context to validate what you were saying.
That's a
If-
very good analysis.
Yeah.
that you've done
You
there.
use a
Yeah.
public
You see,
forum
that
to,
is what I have.
to silence your critics.
That is what I've argued in my column here. I've mentioned your name and Joel's name. If you don't have people like you, Joel Bhagwandin and Leonard Craig, we would believe these people. And I have said when this program began is that people are wiser.
Yeah.
People are wiser because you have, and as in Bash in Sunday Chronicle, you have Joel Bhagwandin. And I said to Joel before you come, in invisible ways, these people like you and Joel have impacted on the election results, but we can't ascertain it. It's not there. Look this thing about GHK Lall.
And the thing is about people like Lall. They want to hide behind a black curtain and poke people who are out in the open.
Yeah.
And they hide, and they like Halloween now, and they come boo, and they gone back behind all sorts of masks. And when you start to unmask them, they are worse and far worse by any measure, whether you use religious measure, whether you use moral measure, political measure. They are worse by any measure than the people they are trying to criticize.
Oh God. Stop there, Leonard Craig. I've had 58 years of that in my life. I'm a dinosaur compared to the two of you here. So I see people would walk the street with a placard and people looking out the window to them, and I would say, if these people only know. I mean, Leonard Craig, Joel Bhagwandin, I wrote for 30 years for the Kaicho News, and Glenn Lall is absolutely unfit to criticize the PPP, any lead in the PPP and the PPP government. But Craig, go on.
Yeah. Just before I go on, though, I just need to plug this thing as you said that. And these people, some of them, are coming to the public, Glenn Lall and others, I'm glad you mentioned that name, and they want redemption. And me, I'm a person who opposed the PPP in the past. And the PPP is not entitled to redemption in my mind. If you understand what I'm saying, they're saying I shouldn't allow a redemption because I criticize them and must continue to criticize them for the rest of my life. Nobody deserves redemption, only them.
There's no dynamism and change in society.
Right. So I can't move on to supporting the PPP, though I did not support them in the past. I can't do that because they don't deserve redemption. But I must listen to Glenn Lall, who got a sorry pass, and he deserves redemption. And that is the kind of people. You understand? I just needed to say that. Joel, let me pivot to some economic issues. I'm guessing that you're au fait because you have been conversant on the oil economy and oil business and so on. Christopher Ram once said that ExxonMobil makes, I think he said 5 times the profit that Guyana is making, and that that 50-50 of the minus the cost recovery is not so. Is that a wool is being pulled over our eyes. But based on the oil share and all of that, I know you probably would have done that several times, but as I move around, people continually keep asking about these things. It means then that we got to continually explaining it. So please just give us a quick synopsis of how that works.
The names that you mentioned, when they look at the oil industry in Guyana, they lack the ability, and I'm speaking based on the lack of their demonstration, to properly, comprehensively understand the economics of the industry. When Mr. Lal Bachchan Christopher Ram writes on the oil industry, and when he writes on the accounting and some bit of the economics, he don't know economics. He knows nothing about economics. He looks at it from a very narrow perspective. Very, very narrow perspective. So let me preface now my response with this. The Oil and Gas Governance Network, which is a group that the same individual you mentioned is a part of or affiliated with in some way. They're all of the same ilk, the same thinking, the same agenda. Let me give you some background to that before I get to the economics. That organization, and this is important, that organization was created in 2017. When it was created in 2017, it was created under a certain US legislation that classify them a non-profit organization. Non-profit organization. That's the legal format of the organization in the US. But their intention was not non-profit. It was intended to be a for-profit, because what they had in mind in 2017 was to create this organization and position themselves as oil and gas exporters
And get consultancies.
to advise the government of Guyana.
And they did make attempts.
That manifested, because a senior government official confirmed this, that manifested when they actually submitted a proposal to the I don't know about the APNU government, but it was created under APNU government in 2017. But they also made, when government changed in 2020, they presented a proposal to the PPP administration, which was rejected. Since the rejection,
They're bitter.
since the rejection,
Sour grapes.
they started this campaign.
I actually did not know that piece of detail.
No, apart from that,
The people are on a
now
vendetta
listen to
trip.
these people. Listen to this. Let's go back to some legal and ethical issues now. They registered this organization as a non-profit, knowing fully well they're going to do in Guyana. Their intention is to make profit in Guyana. By registering as a non-profit in the US, you don't have to pay taxes. Now, here is the irony. They are
is
now
that not-
accusing Exxon of doing the same thing, which Exxon is, by the way, exercising within the legal parameters under US law. They were going to violate the law because they're not in compliance. I did a whole lot of work on this thing. They're not, if you look at their operation, they're not even in compliance, because under the legal format, for the legal form of this organization that they're registered under, as a non-profit organizations in the US are subject to a lot of regulation, a lot of requirement, a lot of compliance requirement. They got to publish their bylaws, they got to publish their annual reports, they got to hold AGMs and a whole range of stuff. There is no bylaw that is publicly available. When you read what they say that they're doing none of that. What they say they're supposed to do as a non-profit organization, they're doing none of that. Nothing that is there. A whole range of violations. Now they got the audacity to write to the U.S. Senator that Exxon is doing some sort of a wrongdoing. Which in the fact of the matter is that Exxon is operating within the legal framework. Now, I'm not going to debate that. That's a matter for them and the U.S. But I'm just pointing out because the viewers, the public don't know this, and so this kind of background is important. That we use your term. We need to unmask these people, who they are, and what is their agenda. Now, let's now come to the economics. The economics on the question of the profitability, 5 times more profit. The OGGN took it a step further to say when the president of Exxon Mobil Guyana said that they're still in the negative, they wrote about 3 or 4 pieces in the letters column of the mainstream media that he's wrong. And they went up and they pulled the NRF reports. Look how much cash flow you have. Look at your financial statement, how much cash flow you have. Now, bear in mind, these are PhD scholars. These are people who are well credentialed. I'm not gonna, unlike the GHK Lall guy, these are people whose credentials are well known, well established, not questionable, and so I'm going to give them credit and respect for that. But you would imagine that they're coming with this kind of flawed, mediocre analysis. When you're analyzing oil economics, you gotta take into account the entire project economics and the time factor. When you're looking at profit, there are 3 types of profit. There is accounting profit, there is profit on a cash flow basis, and then there is economic profit. The profit that they are talking about, they're failing to account for the project economics of the Stabroek block. Now, the Stabroek block is 26 or 28,000 square kilometers. That's the size of the block. If you take all the approved projects, their reports, their environmental reports and so on are published on the EPA website. In that report, it has the size of the project development area. So you can calculate the total size of the project development area for all the projects, and you could calculate what's the total size of the proven reserve in relation to the entire Stabroek block, which is 26 or 28,000. Let me use the lower number to be safe. I can't remember the exact. Let's use the lower number, let's say 26,000 square kilometers. What is the size of the total proven reserve in relation to the entire block? The size of the total, based on the last time I checked, was less than 5% when you add it up. Now it might probably be 5% or more with the other projects that I haven't accounted for. Let's say let's cap it at 10%. So the total proven reserve that have been discovered so far, based on the total size of all the project development area, accounts for about 10% or less of the entire Stabroek block, which is 26,000 and change square kilometers. Now, oil was discovered in 2015. So there is a period of exploration, which took 15 years before the first commercial quantity was found. Then it took 5 years to develop the first field, which is Liza 1. It took 5 years. And you're putting in capital investment, you're burning up cash into that development. Then first oil was December 2019. Accounting profit was reported in 2021. If you go back to the petroleum agreement, the prospecting license, according to the 2016 petroleum agreement, expires in 2027. The agreement governs how many times that license can be renewed, and it's not if I recall correctly, it cannot be renewed more than 3 times. Save and except you have force majeure. Now, save and except we have no force majeure from now to 2027. They cannot renew it anymore.
Explain to our viewers force majeure.
Force majeure is any eventuality that may arise that would prevent it. Like, for example, 2020, when you had COVID.
That's not under the control, direct control of.
Yeah, so those events that may arise that prevent a delay or some sort of thing, so it justifies an extension beyond that time. So in simple terms, an unforeseen eventuality that would affect.
Especially if you cannot control it.
Correct.
Yourself,
Correct. So save and except there is no such eventuality between now and 27. The prospecting element of it expires in 2027, which means beyond that point, there will be no more exploration in the Stabroek Block. So that means by 2027, when exploration comes to an end, all the proven reserve up to that point. Right now, the proven reserve is over 11 billion. So by 2027, I would expect that number will be revised, because there has been some other discoveries made between 2020 to now, and I expect that there will be more discoveries made between now and 2027. So by 2027, I would expect that 11 billion reserve number will be revised upwards, and whatever that number is, that is what the production agreement under the 2016 petroleum agreement will then govern for them to extract and develop all that reserve, proven reserve. That will take them into maybe another 30, 40 years, because each project, depending on the timeline by which they come on stream, and they're expecting to have 10 FPSOs in production by 2030. So 2030 is when you have no more, by then you have no more exploration. So by 2030, all things being equal, you would have 10 FPSOs, you'd have all the proven reserve and no more exploration. So whatever it is, that's what the Stabroek Block will govern under the Petroleum Agreement of 2016. Now, with all of that in mind, when you're analyzing the profitability of the Stabroek Block, you can't look at it from the accounting profit. You got to take into account the totality of it, the entire economics, which I just explained, all the different variables and elements that constitute the project economics, which there is a timing factor as well, right? So we know that the total committed investment by Exxon in the Stabroek Block is over $60 billion. $60 billion US dollars. Let's cap it at $65 billion US dollars. As at 2024, as at the end of 2024, the total book value of assets of Exxon and the consortium stood at $34 billion US dollars. So of the total investment in the Stabroek Block, governed under the 2016 Petroleum Agreement, there's an investment commitment of $65 billion US dollars to develop all the resource. And thus far, there is a $34 billion US dollars commitment, which means you still have another $31 billion to invest. You still have another, if you look at it from that dimension, in this total framework, the totality of it, of the project economics, you're still in a negative position, because you still have to reinvest to realize the full potential of the investment. So when they say negative, that is what they mean by negative, not the accounting profit, but from a cash flow basis and based on the project economics, when you take into account the committed investment to realize the full investment potential governed under the Petroleum Agreement of 2016, that is the position.
Joel, I wonder
let me just, one quick question. One quick thing, let me just plug it just to simplify something quickly for viewers. When you expect money to come in under the accounting profit, it's one out of two things. It's either accounts receivable, if you're sure you're going to get it. If you're not sure, you put it as bad debts, right? But Exxon is sure they're going to recover this money from the government, and they put it as account receivable, which means then
from the oil project, not the government, from the Stabroek block, not the government.
Sorry, right. From the oil project, they expect it to be accounts receivable. So in their books, they got to put it as if accounts receivable is almost like money that you're sure you're going to get.
Yeah, it's an asset.
So you put it down as an asset there. Therefore, it will feed into a future cash flow. It doesn't mean you have the money now. And so when your profit is shown, that is taken into consideration, but it is not money, but just money expected that you're sure you're going to get. And what those people are doing, they're saying this future recovery money is all part of this entire profit, and it's ballooned. So I hope that helps to simplify.
And another clarification. Remember, it's not perpetual, because this group,
right?
They're perpetuating a notion, a dangerous notion, that it's perpetual. It's not perpetual.
Right.
There is a timeline which is governed on. That's why I took the time to explain the agreement. The agreement is time bound. Okay, so it's not going to be a perpetual. So the total investment of the entire project under the proven reserve we're talking about, it's time bound. By 2027 it expires. By 2030 we're going to have all the investments made, the capital investments made to develop that 11 billion. So it's time bound. It's not perpetual.
I want to come back to GHK, but one thing I want to ask you. You did say Lall is not an economist. He's an economist, went right up to the PhD program. These oil and gas people, I know one of them, have no training absolutely in accountancy, economics, finance, or anything. He's a biologist / chemistry guy in Germany. Andre Van Lee. I mean, I would think an ignorant man like me in these technical financial matters would know more than Van Lee. These are the guys. So it's Christopher Ram, who's not an economist, Van Lee, who is a biologist. These are the guys that are economists. Like, how the two of you explain the economics of these things? Did you research them? Any one of them? The oil and gas governance?
Yes, Hunt. Professor Hunt, who is part of them, he is an economist. He is a professor, and he's a former head of Guy Oil? No, Guy Bank, or back in the day. Back in the day, yeah, he's an economist.
All right. Now, I want you to explain something to a lay person like me. This is my understanding growing up, and even when I entered university, that a chairman of a board, it could be the Botanic Gardens, it could be a bank, it could be a Boy Scout. The chairman of that body submits an annual report for the players, whoever runs the Boy Scouts, whoever runs the Botanic Garden. I think I may be wrong. I think I heard in an interview Lall said there were no annual reports. But isn't that what a chairman does?
Correct.
So 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020, when his term ended, he never submitted an annual report.
They were. They were. But what time?
Where are these annual reports?
They're on the website. They're on
his annual report.
Yeah. They're. I can't recall exactly if there were any under his tenure. We could check it out.
I don't think there were any. I think he said there were no annual reports. But how is that so?
Well, a lot of these agencies were in violation of that requirement.
Right, he has to submit an annual report.
They by law, yes. Whether they're complying with it, that's another question. The EPA, for example, under the APNU administration in that period, 2015 to 2020, they did not publish their annual reports, which is required by law. You know who publishing it now? The current management and current board got to do all those backlog reports even under their time. So you're correct that you have to, by law, these agencies have to make their submissions and file their annual reports, publish their annual reports. But a lot of them were in default, were in breach of that requirement. The EPA was one of them.
Okay, I can't remember if you were in the studio recently with myself and Craig. I know I can remember you were with us in the gardens in which you expansively analyze the antecedents of Azharuddin Mohammed, that before the thing came out, he went to see.
And the reports are published under his time. But whether he published them, it could be that the PPP.
He's 2017 to 2020.
He's 2017, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. But we are now in 2025, so there is a possibility as well that he may not have published them when PPP came back. The new board published the BAP.
Okay, but not under him. Well, here is something
I can't verify that, but I'm saying the audit reports, my report that I referenced, that we spoke about earlier, those were the Auditor General reports.
Here's something I can't understand with the mentality, temperament, and makeup of Lall. Lall gave an interview, a call press conference in which only the Mahava Waves and Starbuck News were present. And he said, when the Americans sent in a dossier on gold smuggling, about 40 names were on it, and the Mohammeds were not. And in direct contradiction of that, the minister, the then minister, Rafik Trotman, said that Mohammed's name was on that dossier.
That's a question that the media got put to him.
I can't understand why Lall, since a week ago, writing a daily column, and since then appeared in David Hines' show, and has not dealt with Trotman. And Trotman, he said he handed a report to Trotman. Trotman said, I never received such a report from Lall. What is disturbing about this man is that instinctively, as a reflect action, you respond to those things. Somebody said, when I was in Barbados with him, he went to Martinique. And you obviously, as a reflect and said, I never went to Barbados with him. It's just natural. And
those inconsistencies, Freddie, that you're emphasizing are unfortunately he gets a free pass. Nobody questions it other than us.
Us, yeah.
And the media continue to celebrate him. The mainstream media continue to celebrate him and position him as an authentic authority in whatever he parades in and the garbage that he writes, unfortunately.
Leonard?
Yeah. Now, in your line of work, I know you were on the Procurement Commission. I think your term has ended, right? How many, well, not directly in number, but how frequently then, that's what I want to get at, do aggrieved contractors come to the commission stating that they felt they were not fairly treated in the procurement process? How widespread is that?
Negligible. So let me put it in two perspectives. In terms of the total number of complaints that we receive at the commission, that we have received at the commission level, complaints coming in from political actors dominated actual contractors. We had more complaints coming from the APNO and AFC agents, more so the AFC. More than 50%, maybe over 60% of the complaints.
Hold your thought. Let me ask you quickly. Can somebody who's not a party raise an issue at the public?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Yes. Any complaint that comes in, the commission is obligated to entertain it. But of course, there's a procedure. There's an SOP. First, we have to examine that complaint whether it warrants moving to the next stage. Because obviously, we can't entertain while we're obligated to entertain the complaint. We got to examine the merits of the complaint, whether we proceed to the next stages of investigation or review or whatever the case may be. So they have to satisfy a threshold. Now, coming back to the question, more than 60% of the complaints that we've received during my tenure there as a commissioner were from political actors. In terms of, to answer the bigger question now that you pose, the level of complaints or grievances by actual contractors, when you look at the total contracts, government contracts, public tenders of the country, of the government, you had over 6,000. If you look at the complaints that we receive in relation to the total, which is over 6,000, you're talking about less than 1%. Less than 1%.
And can you recall how many did that result in any recommendation for changes with respect to, for example, let me describe. Contractor A was awarded, contractor B protested. Were there any cases where the commission recommended that the system wasn't nicely done, and if it was done the right way, possibly contractor B would have won the contract instead?
Yeah, there were cases, and all the reports are publicly available. All of our reports on matters that we have dealt with, they're reports that are in the public domain to that end. What the commission doesn't have the legal power to do, once a contract was entered into, and if we found that that contract should have been awarded to contractor B instead of A, the contract is already entered into, so we have no power to rescind it, to rescind that contract. That's a matter for the procuring entity, but of course you have a whole range of legal issue implications, right? What we're limited to is that we identify the issues, so the report speaks to the issues, the findings of that investigation, and we outline the remedy. So we make recommendations in terms of remedies, but we don't have the power. The commission doesn't have the power. I'm saying we as if I'm still there, but the commission, let me say the commission, as currently constituted and within the current legal framework in which it operates in, doesn't have that legal power to rescind any contract. But there's a report with the remedial actions and recommendations.
Right. So I want to probe the same question a little deeper. About how many your recommendation led you to believe that the wrong contractor was given the project?
On top of my head, I could recall that there were at least 2 such cases.
Oh, at least 2 out of 7,000.
Out of the number of complaints that came in, you gotta look at it out of the total complaints that came in. That would percentage-wise, maybe I can't give a number.
Yeah, understood. I just wanted to know how pervasive that kind of thing is.
Could the two of you check your phone and comment on what has happened to Azuddin? He has been remanded, arrested and remanded.
Just now?
Yeah, just check your phone.
Oh, wait.
Both of you can check your phone. So at least we could tell our viewers.
Remanded on what?
Where?
Just check your phone. And I think I've been told he's remanded. Could be he's still in the police station.
Remanded meaning he appear before.
if it's remanded, that term means you appear in front of a magistrate.
Yeah.
But
That
could
term
you
means you've been in
could you
front
go
of a magistrate.
check all the you got it there? Check Guyanese Critic Facebook page.
I saw it, yeah.
You saw it? He appeared in front of a magistrate.
But I don't know, it says remanded to prison to facilitate extradition process.
Okay.
But I can't say not to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't comment either.
I can't
but
comment.
You can't comment because it's illegal. No,
Right,
it's
no.
not in front of the court. You can't comment on a matter that is in front of the court.
The term remand
Yeah.
means that it is the court system that
Yeah.
can do that.
Well, what-
yes.
The police
It's-
or the
yeah.
government can't remand.
No. Your remand is
Right.
a magistrate's term.
Right.
So what are you seeing there? If the extradition,
arrested. He's
so the
arrested.
extradition treaty, when an extradition treaty comes to government, you have to arrest the person, and then the person seeks an injunction preventing you from being placed in the lockup or what have you. So let's follow the sequence. It means that the extradition request was made to the government. Does not mean that the government has to act on the extradition request. You have to hold a person for extradition,
Well,
which means
my understanding of the procedure is an extradition request comes in. The government, through the Attorney General, examine that request within the framework of our laws.
Yeah.
The Attorney General then determines whether that extradition request meets the threshold to be granted upon. Then he prepares some paperwork. Then it has to go to a judge. The judge then has to rule upon that to
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Whether
yeah.
there's
Yeah.
even-
So at some point in that process, I think it's only
He could only
Yeah.
be remanded.
once at some
If-
some point in that.
Right.
Yeah.
If the matter goes to court,
Yeah.
he could only be remanded.
So that means it's probably before a judge right now for him to be.
Now, Monday,
Before you continue, and then after that, he can decide whether he want to contest it or not. So if he decide to contest it,
yeah,
he will take a lawyer and file proceedings to contest, and then it goes through court and what have you.
Yeah, before he's actually.
Yeah.
if he's not available to be in Parliament on Monday, do you guys have Joel and you? How Monday do you have to have on Monday when Parliament meet? You have to have the swearing in. The parliamentarians are not sworn in on Monday.
It's not
Yeah.
a swearing. Well. Maybe they have to.
That's the first.
But the opposition leader don't have to
that
vote
first
Monday.
They have to
meeting.
vote. They have to vote. Yeah.
Yeah, so that selection of a parliamentary opposition may not take place on
No.
Monday.
Yes. We inquired. That inquiry was made already on that first sitting. Well, remember when Parliament is convened is when the President is making an appearance there. That's when it's called Parliament. But at that very session, the opposition leader, the proceedings to elect within the parliamentary
will take place on Monday. Well, one of the things I am curious, and I would not be there, but if somebody can take me and put me there without me finding parking space, is when they swear in and the president is there, doesn't he have to meet all the 65 members and shake their hand?
Two things. If I could go.
I want to know, Terence Cameron.
The president doesn't have to be there.
Okay.
Right? But he could be. Or what could happen, the MPs could be sworn in, take their oath of office, whatever, and all of that ceremonial thing, and a subsequent time the president could appear and you address the thing. So we don't know yet which format the president will take.
No,
But I have not heard an announcement that the president will be there.
You have heard any announcement that the
sitting.
president will be there?
But he don't have to.
Is there anything?
I don't know. I don't know.
So Monday then we have to have an opposition leader.
Yeah, but from as far as my understanding goes, yes. I don't know. I'm not too versed in the parliamentary proceedings.
I've never seen, in all my reading, I've never seen a case where the
parliament
opposition
meets
leader...
and there's no parliamentary.
Yes, there is one case. I remember when Dr. Jagan, I can't remember which parliament, but Dr. Jagan and the PPP, when parliament was convened, they did not go for I think, I can't remember, but for an extended time, they did not go to parliament because they were protesting.
Just to tell our viewers, by the time this program is broadcast, they will probably have more information than us about whether Azwadin appeared with his father in front of a judge. As we reach time, any of the two of you smartphone have given any more information?
No. It's not something I am forced in, not something I want to comment extensively on.
Whether he's been arrested, whether he's appeared before a judge or what have you.
No, the process is exactly as Joel said. So he don't necessarily have to appear before a judge anytime now until he contests.
Yeah.
So what is this thing been posted that he's been remanded? By the time this program aired, I think we should have more information about that. Joel, it's always good to have you on this program. Give us a couple of weeks, and events are moving fast. By the next time we meet, we may have some kerfuffle in Parliament about who should be the parliamentary leader or what. So we'll have you back here. I am grateful for the time that you've taken the past 3 years to be in our program, and looking forward to future engagements, plural.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Right.
Thanks for watching with us. Whatever is left of Friday evening, please enjoy it, and please enjoy the weekend, and please be careful. Be careful with the traffic, and be careful vis-a-vis what is happening with Guyana, with people wanting to destabilize Guyana. Whatever is left of Friday evening, enjoy it, and have a very, very pleasant weekend. You were watching Joel Bhagwandin and Leonard Craig on the Freddie Kissoon.